If you're burned out and can't leave your job, here's one thing you can do this very afternoon. Stop aiming for 100%. Aim for the floor instead, the minimum that keeps you safe while keeping your job intact. That single shift alone buys you back energy that you don't currently have. Burnout doesn't stay invisible. It shows up eventually in the work or with the people you love or in a decision that you won't be able to take back. Most burnout advice assumes that you can rest, step back, or leave. But I think if you could do any of that right now, you would have. So this video is for the people who can't just walk away. 6 things you can actually do starting today while you're still in it. Here's what's coming. Protecting the floor instead of the ceiling, a decompression ritual that actually helps, a quick audit of where you're leaking energy, finding one person who knows what's really going on, untangling who you are from what you produce, and building an exit plan that you don't have to use yet. None of this buys you forever, but it does buy you time, enough to make your next move on your own terms rather than being forced into one. Before the 6 strategies, I want to talk about something honestly. There's a particular kind of suffering in being burned out and unable to leave, and it doesn't get talked about very much because most burnout conversations end with "you need to get out." And often there's truth and kindness in that. The environment that caused the burnout is frequently the one that you're still sitting in, and your body knows it. But leaving has a cost, a mortgage, bills that need paying, a career you've spent years building, a pension you can't walk away from, children or parents or responsibilities that don't pause for your nervous system to recover. So you stay, you hold it together, you tell yourself one more day, day after day after day. Strategy 1, and I already gave you the headline, stop trying to perform at full capacity. And I know everything in you resists that advice. You're a professional. There are people relying on you. Dropping the ball might feel genuinely risky right now, but you are not at full capacity and you haven't been for a while. The energy spent performing okay is costing you more than you realise. The goal isn't 100%. It's the floor, the minimum that keeps you safe, keeps the job, and keeps your reputation intact. You're not lowering your standards. You're protecting a finite, limited resource. Right now, that resource is you. Strategy 2 is about the gap between your work and the rest of your life. When you're burned out and still working, the damage comes from leaking, work leaking into the evening, into the weekend, into the hours meant for recovery. You never actually leave, even when you're physically at home. A decompression ritual is a deliberate signal to your body that the work day is done. Not wine, that numbs, not scrolling, that keeps you activated. Something physical, brief, repeated. A walk without your phone. Changing your clothes the instant you walk back through your front door. One piece of music that only plays once your workday ends. Pick one before this video ends. One small thing done consistently at the end of every working day this week. Strategy 3 is one that I use with clients who haven't got any energy left for anything. Find one thing in your week that drains you disproportionately. A meeting, a relationship with a work colleague, a task that drains you more than it should. Just one. Then find one source, one thing, however small, that gives something back. Just one. And ask yourself, can the drain of energy shrink even by 20%? And can the source of energy be protected, diarised, guarded, treated as non-negotiable? One energy drain, one energy source. Not a full life review, you haven't got time for that. Small shifts to that ratio change how survivable each week feels. Strategy 4, find one person who knows what's actually going on. Not your whole team, just one person, a partner, a friend outside work, maybe a colleague if there's one you genuinely trust, who gets the honest version, not the polished one. Because burnout thrives on isolation. If everyone around you believes you're fine, just getting on with things, then there's no one checking up on you to find out if that's true. You end up carrying the situation itself and managing the story that you're telling about it all at the same time. This week, tell one person the real version, not the sorted out one, not the one you give your manager. You don't need an audience, you need one person who knows, so you're not carrying this entirely alone. And to be honest, so many people say on my videos about burnout that they thought they were the only one. So I know how common it is to feel you're completely alone. But you're not. Strategy 5, and I'll be honest, this can be the hardest one. If you're a senior professional who's spent decades being defined by what you produce, by the standard you hold yourself to, and burnout is loosening your grip on that standard. It can feel like you're losing your whole identity, not just underperforming. The work isn't only what you do, and for many people watching this, it's become who you are. So when burnout chips away at your ability to perform, it doesn't register as just a professional problem. It registers as a threat to your entire identity. So you push harder, you overcompensate, you apologise for things you don't need to apologise for. You feel a shame that's out of all proportion to what's actually happening. Here's what I want you to hear plainly. Your output right now reflects how depleted your resources are. It doesn't measure your worth. Those are different things entirely. The judgment, the expertise, the capability that you've built over decades, none of that has disappeared because you're struggling to access it this month. It's still there waiting. When did you start treating what you produce as the same thing as what you are? Because that belief, more than the workload, more than the difficult boss, more than the impossible targets, that belief is doing the most damage right now. If you're new here, my name's Lucy and I'm so glad you found the channel. I've spent over 30 years in charity and public sector leadership, and I now turn all of that experience into helping people who are experiencing difficult times in their lives. I've been burned out and still showing up just like you. I was still functioning, probably looked from the outside I was doing really well, but inside I was telling myself a really relentless commentary about you used to be better than this, you used to be able to manage more than this. What's happened to you? I kept asking myself. And the cruelest part about that, I was comparing my depleted, miserable self with a happy-go-lucky self. It was a memory of myself at full capacity some years before, in completely different circumstances, in a role that I'd had years to master. It wasn't really a fair comparison, but I made it every day anyway. And it wasn't till a colleague said to me, "You're doing really well in really difficult circumstances. Why do you keep beating yourself up?" that I realised what I was doing to myself. And that comment from that colleague on that day really helped. You're not struggling because there's anything wrong with you. You are struggling because you're in a hard situation, asking more of yourself than anyone can sustainably give. And you've been doing it for a long time. That's not weakness. That's extraordinary strength in a difficult situation. And it deserves some compassion, including from you towards yourself. Now on to strategy 6, which is specifically for the feeling that you're trapped. Because one of the most exhausting parts of being burned out and unable to leave is the feeling that you've got no options, no choices, that you're trapped, that this is simply how it's always going to be indefinitely. And that feeling is often more tiring than the work itself. So try to separate two things that often get fused together. Not being ready to leave is not the same as having no options. And building an exit plan is not the same as using one. What I recommend to clients I work with, give it 2 hours of your time, mapping what leaving would actually look like. Not committing, not announcing, just mapping. What would you need financially? What would you need to do to update your CV? What other roles exist that use the skills you already know? Who in your network would you actually want to speak to? Create the map, not the whole journey. Here's what tends to happen once you've done it. The trap feeling, which comes from believing there's no way out, starts to loosen. By writing that down, that map, you've proved to yourself that options exist. That shift from trapped to choosing to stay for now changes how you feel about the whole thing. You're not stuck. You're in a hard position, deliberately staying while you prepare your next steps. That's a completely different experience to carry, and a far more bearable one than I have no choice. To recap, protect the floor, not the ceiling. Build one small decompression ritual. Run the one drain, one source audit. Find one person who knows the real version of what's going on. Separate what you produce from who you are and start to map the exit you don't have to take yet. None of these fixes everything, but all of them make this week more survivable than last week. Before I go, one thing to remember. If you're still showing up depleted, running on empty, not sure if you can carry on, that isn't something to be ashamed of. That's someone doing a genuinely hard thing in a genuinely hard situation with more commitment than most people are ever asked to show. You deserve tools that genuinely fit your situation, and you deserve to know that this doesn't have to be permanent. Tell me in the comments which of the 6 you're going to try first. And if you know someone still showing up, still explaining it away, still keeping going, then maybe share this video with them. This is the 3rd video in a 3-part series. If you're still working out whether this is burnout at all, the video on the 5 signs to look out for is linked below. And once you've got a bit of breathing room to work on recovery rather than just surviving the week, have a look out for the second video, also linked below. These three are built to work together. And if there are suggestions for future topics I should cover, then do let me know in the comments below. And if the isolation of burnout is what you're feeling, having no one at work you can be properly honest with, that's exactly why I'm building a proper community for this stage of career. Not open yet, but the waitlist link is below if you want to be the first in. Take really good care of yourself. All the very best for the future. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.